Who's supposed to start? You're supposed to start. Me supposed
Dude,
to start. What's up, everybody? Welcome in.
you take 1 week
Yeah.
you take 1 week off, dude. 1 week off and
Dude,
get
I'm
scrambled
all
up.
I'm all still twisted up in
Your
my brain
Tuesday.
cell here. You know what the
I
funny
had
thing was is that I had just opened up. I wanted to retweet the link, the YouTube link, and I had the volume going on that one as well. So my fault there. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us here. It's Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm Howard Bender, Andrew Cooper here. It's Waiver Wire Tuesday. They're picking up the pieces from week 10, all the stuff that's been going on around the way. So first and foremost, what's up, Coop? How you feeling today after your very first pie bet?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right. You and Wags warned me a little bit. You were like, you're gonna get stuff in your nose. That was true. You said you're gonna get stuff in your beard. That was obviously going to happen. You said you probably have stuff in your hair, which I did. But what I think you tried to warn me, but it didn't really come through, is how quickly whipped cream like that starts to smell gross.
Oh
And
yeah.
how impossible it is to get out of your like eyebrows and your mustache. It is no bueno. I mean, like I washed my face like 5 times, took a shower this morning. I feel like I still smell whipped cream, dude. So I'm gonna try not lose too many more of those ones. That was a tough one.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at your Fantasy Alarm Listener League team, Yacht Rock Friday on, I saw you took another loss today, so you are this week. So tough times for you right now. You
Tough
very well
times,
may
man.
need to invest in more pie. So we'll see what happens there. But what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being here. As always, if you can hit that like button, maybe a subscribe button on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button. If you're watching us on Twitter or Twitch or wherever it is that you are catching us right now, pop over to the YouTube link, hit that like button for us there as well. Just a nice free way to say thank you for everything that you guys do. Although I tell you what, the comments are already rolling in here. Fast and furious, and just want to say thank you to everybody. First and foremost, thank you to you, Coop. Thank you to John and Pemba. I was dealing with a personal issue all of last week. Still kind of, in the weeds on that whole thing, but back in action here. You guys did an amazing job carrying me on that one. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate all the kind words from everybody out there in FA Nation. You guys have been incredibly supportive throughout all this. And before I start getting all choked up and start crying and getting all emotional like that, then I'll turn it back over to you, Coop, and say, how was week 10 for you, other than the pie bet?
Week 10 was actually kind of, I've had some up weeks, some down weeks. This one was just kind of boring. And the problem was in a lot, so oddly, it felt like half of my leagues I faced Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow. So I took a whooping there. I mean, like we talked about, our guy Munson had both of them put up 100 on me. And Howard, as is tradition, my team comes around and drops like almost 160 points. I think it was the second most in the league or very close to second most in the league. But when two guys score 100, I was going up against like 215. So
Yeah.
that's always how it works. So I did all right. I had some hits, guys like James Conner, who I actually was able to trade for. I've been telling everyone to trade for him. I think I got to start trading for these guys before I say it on these shows or on my Twitter, because like people are like, I know what you're up to. Like I follow you on Twitter. My buddy's from home, but I was able to get him in one league, and sure enough, he has a good week. Russell Wilson, who I have in a lot of best ball and some real leagues, did well. And then our guy Tyrone Tracy, just in the last minute there, like while you and I were on air, he was blowing it. And then the moment we got off, he rips off a big touchdown and saves the day. So that was nice. I did have some guys that didn't do well. Hunter Henry, we'll talk about him on the show. I'm not giving
Wow.
up. Yeah, it hurt.
How could we be so right about Gesicki and Otten and so wrong about Hunter Henry? I don't know what happened in that game.
So here's the thing: is that he actually played virtually the entire game, 89% of the snaps,
Yep.
ran 87.5% of the routes. He got 4 targets. He just couldn't reel them in. And the Bears were really making him a focal point. So what they did was go 2 tight end sets and say, okay, if you're going to kind of shut down Henry, we're going to throw it to Austin Hooper. So, they kind of took the low hanging fruit there. I'm still sticking with him, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, it was just He was out there running around all exercise team. Couldn't catch anything. Speaking of couldn't catch anything, I also in my biggest league, my big hometown league, I needed a big day at a Devontae Adams. 13 targets, ugh, only 6 catches for 31. That was a half PPR league too, which made it hurt. And then I will say, I kind of put a lot of DFS stock. I didn't start him any real lives. I thought Cooper Rush could put together a good game. He actually looked absolutely terrible. So
Horrendous.
just really which is so funny because I was like, oh yeah, he was like 13 of 25, but there were 7 drops. And then this week he goes out and has 13 of 25 with no drops. So I guess maybe he's just not throwing very catchable passes, Howard. I don't know. What about you? How was your week?
My week wasn't bad actually. I got a lot of wins there. The funny one was in a Superflex league that I'm in. I started both Mac Jones and Drake May, right? And that was like, yeah, and I still won.
I think I'm wearing a Red Sox shirt, but it counts.
I still won that matchup, which was just absolutely. I mean, it was just a huge mind scramble. I mean, I've done well with the running backs this year. That's it's always been my feeling of locking into the running backs and the importance of them. And, and I was like, looking through like all the data and stuff like that. Shout out to our boy, Ryan Heath from Fantasy Points Data. Again, his wrap up each week is just absolutely fantastic. But one of the things I think he and is it Tibby, the two of them were kind of talking about was the
Thomas Tipple.
Thomas Tipple was going off.
He's a good guy.
I guess it was 18 fantasy point weeks for wide receivers versus running backs, and how running backs are just still racking up all the all the numbers there. And that's something that you kind of need to pay attention to. It's not so much about the zero RB. I'm not crapping on the zero RB, but just so that you see what's going on. A lot of these bell cow backs, the Saquon Barkleys and the Joe Mixons and Jonathan Taylor, even like these guys are all producing when they are on the field. And that's a huge thing. So
yeah, just to add to that, like if you go and read the zero RB literature, going all the way back to the original 2013 article, the philosophy never really says that running backs aren't how you win leagues and how they, and they don't put up the most points. What it says is it's such a fragile position that they get hurt more often and more guys emerge. This year, it just so happens. So it's like that still stays true. The people that draft zero RB know that along the way, they're going to need to find them. You're going to need to find a Tyrone Tracy or something like that, or Kyron Williams last year. The problem this year, Howard, is that the fragility part has not really come to fruition, knock on wood, where it actually kind of has for the wide receivers. I mean, like we've lost Ayuk, we lost Godwin, we lost a bunch of these guys, whereas it's not really happening as much for running back. So the philosophy has never changed. And the thing about it is that those guys will readily admit that if the running backs don't get hurt, anybody that just goes robust RB and their running backs just stay good and don't get hurt is going to steamroll everybody, which is, I mean, that's happening in leagues right now. No question.
As far as hits and misses go from week 10, a couple of nice hits. Nothing, Jamar Chase-ish, but Brock Purdy definitely delivered in a number of leagues. I talked to a lot of people about utilizing Brock Purdy. James Cook had himself a rock solid day. It wasn't, anything, mind numbing, but again, just steady production out of a bell cow running back. So I was digging on that. And then Ricky Pearsall got into the end zone there. We've kind of been talking a lot about Juwan Jennings versus Ricky Pearsall and how things are going to end up. And Jennings out targeted Pearsall and, we saw him with more snaps, but, Pearsall still getting into that, into that Brandon Ayuk role, right? Like, because Jennings he's pulled like almost 50% of his snaps have come out of the slot. Mm-hmm. And Pearsall lines up on the outside. So, I was in on that for Pearsall. I actually pivoted off of somebody. I can't remember who I pivoted off of, but I used Ricky Pearsall. I think I pivoted off of Noah Brown, who dropped that touchdown in the end zone, that easy touchdown. I think I pivoted off of him and I went to Ricky Pearsall in the Beat Howard Bender contest over at rtsports.com. And that paid off nicely. Of course, I too invested heavily in Hunter Henry, which stunk. Sam Darnold Where the hell was that? Like all of a sudden, now you look at Sam Darnold, and the turnovers are coming up a little bit more prevalent right now. I mean, listen, we were never expecting Sam Darnold to be what he was through the first like 3 or 4 weeks of the season. Like he was clearly playing over his head. Everybody was vibing in Minnesota. Now that defensive coordinators are having that opportunity to make their adjustments against him, it's turning into a little bit more of a turnover prone situation. I'm not down on Darnold. I'm not going to give up on him at all. But for the same token, he didn't deliver. Saquon Barkley didn't deliver. Romo Dunze, also, I was kind of in on him, and I thought he had some really nice potential in this matchup. But big news today is the Chicago Bears end up firing Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. Give him the heave ho, and we'll see what happens. How the Bears want to do that. There's been talk about the team wanting to bench Caleb Williams. There are other league executives who are being interviewed saying that Caleb Williams is still doing what he did in college, and that just does not work in the NFL. You can't just sit there and run around haphazardly. You can't sit there and throw across your body on the regular. And I think that's one of the things that's problematic here for Caleb Williams. So we'll see what happens. Shane Waldron's gone. We're going to see what the Bears end up doing there. So, so I hardly think that the Romo Dunze part was my fault, Coop. Couldn't possibly be my fault. It was Shane Waldron's.
The folks in charge of that have been sacked. And the folks in charge of being in charge of Shane Waldron should also be sacked. In my personal opinion, is that Ryan Poles should also be fired, but that's a much longer discussion for a different, perhaps an off-season format. I will say about Sam Darnold, just real quick, is that I think we underestimate from the outside how much work goes into film every single week by these teams, just looking for things they can take advantage, looking of little things that Sam Darnold's doing. And until you have that film, you can't get there. But I think the biggest example, anybody go and check out the breakdown of what happened with the Chiefs blocking that kick. They knew that left, the short and sweet is they knew that left tackle, that left guard, whoever it was on that play, was sitting back instead of stepping forward. And that if they rushed that spot with 3 guys, they could block kicks. Like, it's something that was on film for multiple weeks, and they waited for that moment, the exact moment to win the game. These little things are the things that guys like Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick used to do, and Andy Reid, that take their teams to another level. So with Sam Darnold, the idea was always that, okay, he's going to regress at some point from what he's doing, but TJ Hawkinson will hopefully show up and make it all better. And TJ Hawkinson looked pretty good. So I'm not throwing Darnold away, but you just got to be careful, man. He's in the we're hoping he could rise to the very top. He's probably going to end up more in the pile with guys like Stafford and Goff and Herbert,
right?
Herbert. Herbert might be escaping the
thoughts on that. I just want to acknowledge the fact that blocking that field goal for the Chiefs was all based in the movie Invincible. Vince Papale. They saw that the guy's fingers, right? It was the knuckles were white as opposed to red. So you knew he was kind of sitting back, and there you knew he was going to rush him, and that's kind of where that all turned out from. I'll say this about Justin Herbert, and we'll get to chat. I promise you guys, we will get to the chat questions there. A lot of people in there. I just want to say that 2 out of the last 3 weeks, Justin Herbert rushing yards.
Yes.
Got into the end zone this past week, also on a rushing touchdown. This is a developing part of his game that I'm kind of intrigued by.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw it both with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Greg Roman has this whole bag of RPO tricks, and they're really starting to use them. And Herbert is doing a good job of balancing not taking contact with finding the field, which is the most important part of that offense, right? Because it's like you lose Herbert, it's done. And that's what's happened to him a bunch of times in the last few years. So, I mean, I'm liking what I'm saying. So I'm fully with you on that. Should we jump? We'll jump in the chat and then we'll start hitting some positions, Howard, you think?
Yeah. Let's jump into the chat because we had some early bird specials here.
Of course.
Shout out to Joshua K. Happy Tuesday there. Thank you for supporting there, Josh. Appreciate that. He says, "What's up, Coop?" He's always expressing his gratitude as part of the fam. We appreciate that very much. And then 2 Sox Games in here nice and early, and boom, he's hitting you with the trade questions right now. Trade Josh Downs for Jacoby Myers. I don't know if I want to do that, but then he's also got. What do you think of that one?
I would not do that unless you have your back against the ropes in terms of the bye week. That's the only difference. Like if you are already in can't lose mode, maybe you're worried about Josh Allen still have a bye week. Jacoby Myers already had his, but it's a very lateral move in my opinion. But again, if you absolutely cannot lose a single other game, then maybe.
He also wants to know, should he trade CMC for CD Lamb and either Josh Jacobs or Aaron Jones?
I mean, man, I wouldn't trade for Aaron Jones right now because he's got the rib issue. All right, he left the game, came back, but as we know with those things, you get all hopped up on the adrenaline, you come back and play, and then you find out when you get in the X-ray room or MRI room, oh man, the cartilage is all jammed up, or maybe even a broken rib. I need to hear more on that, but maybe Lamb and Jacobs is probably the price for CMC. Just make sure you're not creating a monster with the team you're trading with. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not making that move. You
Just keep
know,
CMC.
I think,
He's
yeah, I
too
think
good.
everybody's like sitting there and like, because CMC didn't, have over 100 all purpose yards and 2 touchdowns, that they were like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. The San Francisco 49ers are struggling and blah, blah. Like, it was his first game back and he still looked good. And, once they're like, Debo is fully healthy and Jennings and Pearsall are both involved there. You got Kittle. I'm not trading CMC. You held him for this long and you're gonna give up on him for. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Cooper Rush and
True.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott had season-ending surgery, so he's done. And would it not shock you, Coop, for CeeDee Lamb to suddenly start dealing with a hamstring issue?
Right.
Nothing
And just
major,
kinda
just something that's going to keep him out of
back
practices.
it up.
Something that's going to, oh, maybe I miss a game or two here, because Dallas Cowboys now, they're eyeballing the first pick. I mean, they're sitting at 2-7 right now. Carolina Panthers just beat the Giants, so they're 2-7. Giants 2-7. So Cowboys right
Sure.
now are really looking forward towards next season there. And I'm not saying that they're going to tank it, but it would not surprise me to see CD Lamb kind of in and out, right? Until at
They
least they fix the sun blocking issue.
yeah, they got it. They're not eyeballing anything
Dallas.
over there, Howard. They gotta get some visors or something going on. I mean, just ridiculous. Here's the one stat I care about with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey went out this week and he played 56 snaps. Jordan Mason played 3. Isaac Grendo played 3. It's over. It's over for Jordan Mason. Thank you very much for your service.
Yeah.
It's Christian McCaffrey time. That's 88% of the snaps, Howard. The leader on the season is Kyron Williams at 86. So Christian McCaffrey is your new snaps per game leader, everybody.
There you go. Two Sox Games also has a question here. He's got Cade Otton on a bye week. Should he pick up Hawkinson, swap out Tank Bigsby?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, TJ Hawkinson, I was very concerned. I was concerned about the knee. I was concerned about the quarterback. I was concerned about the target competition. First week back, he played less than 50% of the snaps, got a few targets, looked okay. Still got more targets than Jordan Addison, though. This week, plays right around 50% of the snaps, gets loaded up with targets when he's out there. Jordan Addison looking like the clear third dog. That's all I wanted to see. That's all I needed to see. I moved Hawkinson in my rest of season rankings, which are in the waiver wire article. We've moved on from yin and yang, everybody. We did our stashing. We got the guys we kind of were looking for in that front. Moving forward, it's just linear rankings on the way out. When we draft, we don't like linear rankings. In the early season, we don't like linear rankings. Down the stretch, it has to be done that way. So now we're going to start working in matchups, working in all that. Hawkinson, I think I have 7 or 8 right now, Howard, which maybe even higher. I mean, if he's going to be a top 2 target on his team, even as a 50% snap guy, just wait until he's all the way ramped up, baby. We all the way up.
Yeah. And I think eventually you'll probably just leave Hawkinson in there and
I think
probably
so.
not even use Otton very much. We'll
Well,
see what happens.
yeah,
We'll see what happens when Evans comes
yeah.
back and how everything kind of irons out. I mean, Tampa's got the bye week, so they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to work on a bunch there for sure.
Mhm.
Question here from Joshua K. I've got McBride, who's on a bye, and Fryermuth. Should I keep Muth or drop him for Disley or Knox?
Man, I'm not going to drop him for Knox just as a 1 week spot start because the you're going to go back to McBride no matter what. And it's like we saw such a long period of time with Dawson Knox as the guy. Like, what are you expecting to happen all of a sudden? I think if you're going to spot start anybody, I might just go with Fryermuth. to be honest, just because he has the touchdown potential. Will Disley, I mean, Howard, listen how crazy this is. Disley, they've been very low volume, and he doesn't run all the routes, but on a targets per route run basis, Will Disley is actually second behind only Evan Engram. It's
So when he's on the field, he's getting the looks.
When he's on the field, he's getting the look. So I guess I would go with either Will Disley or Muth. I just don't want to. I think I would rather hold on to Muth rest of the season. It's close enough for this 1 week that I would rather have Muth rest of the way. So I would just hold my nose and start Muth and have him on my team.
Defense streaming here: New Orleans, Houston, Green Bay, or the Jets. So you've got Green Bay going up against Chicago, who's turning over the play calling and the offensive coordinating to a new guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Houston, Monday Night Football against Dallas, Cooper Rush.
That might be the one. I think that's probably going to have to be the one. It's just Houston's not really available in a ton of leagues. So the fact that they're available in your league, I would go that way. So yeah, go Houston versus Dallas. Just from the articles, my top 2 streaming defenses are this week. I do like Green Bay because of their matchup with Chicago, and I also like the Cleveland Browns. The beauty of both Green Bay and the Browns is they were both on bye week last week, so they were both available in much more leagues than they typically would be, and they both have good matchups, and they're both healthy coming out of the bye. So you got Green Bay against the Saints, who are just everybody's banged up, and then you have Cleveland coming out, and Cleveland gets the Saints, Green Bay gets Chicago. So basically 2 offenses there just having a really hard time, and 2 very fresh defenses coming at them.
Eric's in the house here. From a waiver standpoint here, are these guys droppable? Raheem Mostert, Tank Bigsby, Jordan Mason. We've already said yes to dropping Jordan Mason.
Mason is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mason is. The problem with Bigsby is that he's hurt. So it's like we don't quite know how things are going to shake out between those 2 guys. Who is the other player?
Raheem Mostert, who didn't see a single carry on Monday Night Football. Got 2 passes thrown his way. Did not get a single carry there. Even Jalen Wright got carries.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, great news for Devon Achane, 70% of the snaps. So yeah. I think the order I would drop those guys would be, the thing is, if ETN gets hurt, does Bigsby even become a guy we really like playing with Mac Jones? I think Mostert just has the most handcuff value, and I'm probably going to keep him of that crew. So I think I would drop in that order. I would drop Jordan Mason, who played 3 snaps, and then I would drop Bigsby, and then I would drop Mostert.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed.
Brad T says, happy Tuesday, fam. Looking forward to a great show. Been a busy year for his team with injuries, and why should it stop with Kincaid last week? Interested to hear the tight end whisperer's opinions. I mean, he's day to day right now. I mean, he obviously has not been delivering what I thought that Dalton Kincaid was going to be delivering this year. I'm surprised. Definitely surprised.
He was heavily involved very early in the game.
Yeah.
He played 2 snaps in the second quarter, went into the locker room, tried to come out at halftime and played 1 snap and then said, I can't play. That's what happened. So, but at the tight end position, if we want to hit on it real quick, I'm still in on Hunter Henry. That's the guy that I'm adding if he's available still. You know what? Guys are going to have down weeks. I mean, Zach Ertz, another streaming option, against the Giants, had 1 catch for 5 yards, but every other game he's had 5 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets. It's like guys are going to have down weeks. I watched Travis Kelce have 17 yards against the 49ers. I didn't bench him. Like, Hunter Henry's been good outside of this 1 game. He played nearly 90% of the snaps. He ran 87% of the routes. He got 4 targets. Just didn't happen for him, but I'm still sticking with him. The other guy that you got to think about here is Jonnu Smith, just because think about Cade Otton, right? What happened when the wide receivers got hurt? Think about the game that Dallas Goedert played where against the Saints, where the wide receivers were hurt and he had like 180 yards or whatever it was. Tyreek Hill is so close to shutting it down here with the wrist and all that business. Like, he's 1 injury away and one of the guys is half injured. So that's where I'm at. For streamers, it's Ertz, it's Henry, it's Disley. You know what I mean? Disley has to be on that streaming radar if he's going to get 5 or 6 targets every week. So those are kind of the streamers. For stashes, again, I'm not dropping Henry for any of these guys, but Jatavian Sanders has been better than Tommy Tremble has ever been. as a rookie, right? Like from the rip, from week one, when Tremble missed week one. Tremble's dealt with back issues, concussion issues. I think at this stage they just let it ride. And let me tell you, if you think the bye weeks are bad this week with for tight end with McBride, it doesn't get any better next week. You've got Dalton Kincaid is out. You've got Kyle Pitts is out. You've got Gasecki is out. You've got there's another big one too. There's
Are you talking about the week 12 bye or the week 11 bye?
The week 12 bye. So like
week
you've
12
got
bye is that's a big
6
one.
teams.
6
Ingram
teams.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ingram, Conklin, your boy Taysom Hill,
which a lot of people are relying on.
Gesicki, Kincaid, and Pitts. Those are the 6 that are out.
Yes. So that week, if you want to stash Jatavian Sanders just to see if he can keep the gig, he's on bye this week. He actually has a really good matchup that week against the Chiefs, who have led up a lot of action to tight ends. And then the other one that's kind of growing is another rookie is Theo Johnson. Early on, he had to block on a bunch of pass plays. Then he got a better role briefly. And then when Andrew Thomas went down, he spent 2 games blocking a bunch, which was not good. But as of late, they've been working him into the pass game here, and he gets in that week 12 slot Tampa Bay, which has been one of the worst pass defenses. Great spot for tight ends. So if I'm stashing, I'm going to go with these young guys. I'm going to stash, I'll stash Sanders, I'll stash Theo Johnson just to see. And then if you're in like a really crazy deep leagues like the FFPC leagues that Luke plays in, or some of these leagues that Ann Dunn pulls these start sit questions out of, just like crazy deep leagues, you gotta think like if tight ends your worst spot, who could take a big jump if the starter gets hurt, like Isaiah Likely did last year. Elijah Higgins behind Trey McBride, Brenton Strange we saw already looked good when Evan Engram was hurt, and he actually was doing a little bit this week. Maybe even a guy like Ben Sennett. Like just start.
Well, let me ask you a name that you've obviously overlooked here, and that's Brock Wright. Because Sam Laporta, we don't know it's a shoulder sprain, right? It's an AC joint issue.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that he's day to day, and there's no guarantee that he plays for week 11. Does Brock Wright interest you as a streamer?
So if it's really deep, then yes, on the DFS radar for sure. The Zebra King is definitely a guy that we've seen in the past step into that role and ball a little bit. It's like sometimes they like to get weird with like Shane Zylstra, but I think Brock Wright is the guy you're going to want. And again, this is like the 3rd injury of the year for Sam Laporta. He had the hamstring, he had the ankle, now he's got this AC joint. Like he is just all banged up. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, you know what, why don't you settle down and get healthy?
Makes sense. Mile High Luke says, love the pie bet payoff, but Bender should feel horrible about what it did. Like, what am I feeling horrible about?
She was a little traumatized.
How is she traumatized? Let's watch this, right? The camera.
That's pretty good smash. She didn't like Daddy with the thing is she ate a bunch of whipped for everybody that was concerned. She ate a bunch of whipped cream after the fact, and she was smiling. She just didn't like the transformation there with the face. Shout out to my wife not letting me finish what I was saying either. That was really nice of her. Yeah. So for the first one, I got some work to do. I got to work on the camera angles and all that, but we got by. But dude, that's not even a bet I wanted to make. I don't even blame Howard the most. I blame the chat. Whoever had that stupid question that was, should I start Jonnu Smith, Noah Fant, or Taysom Hill? And then Noah Fant didn't even play. You guys set me up for failure. You guys set me up. I don't like any of those players. And I got tricked. I was tricked.
You didn't get tricked. Rod Elliott in the house here. Waiver day, but trade question. Dynasty, middle of the pack. He's got Sutton. He was offered Pearsall for Sutton straight up. Who do we like long term? I guess the question is Rod, who are your other wide receivers? Because I get that Sutton's been performing fairly well in recent games, right? I mean, there's definitely something's clicking over there in Denver, but
you can't do that trade. You can't do that trade in Dynasty because Sutton isn't a player that pushes you over the top. He's just not. You know what I mean? Like,
no, he's getting rid of Sutton to add Pearsall.
Oh, then absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't know why that person would want to do that. Because, like, you only want to trade for guys that are 29, 30 years old if it's a difference maker. But when I do these trades, I always think to myself, what are the odds that I win if I trade for Sutton and I lose if I don't? Not that good. You know what I mean? It's like trading for Christian McCaffrey. Now you've drastically increased your odds of winning, even though he's an older back. Trading for Derrick Henry, you've drastically increased your odds of winning. Sutton does not move the needle enough. In fact, Ricky Pearsall could be better rest of the season. If you want to hit the wide receivers, we can jump in there real quick, Howard.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll come back to one quick tight end question to wrap up the tight end talk here, because Subskirt wants to know Njoku or Engram rest of season.
I did move. So Auden, I like Auden and Njoku and Engram still, all of them, but I did move Auden and Njoku ahead of Engram just because of the quarterback situation. The quarterback situation is not good. And we don't know if we're ever going to get Trevor Lawrence back. The volume's there. The other part is pretty simple. It's that Njoku's had his bye week and Engram has. And Njoku's going to play one more game than Engram is. I know we're planning for playoffs, but you got to make the playoffs first. And like when you're splitting hairs between guys that are getting targets, Jameis Winston to Njoku just seems like a safer combo than Mac Jones to Engram. And again, that game matters. It's another game.
It's another game. I love it. All right. So let's go to, all right. So we did tight ends here for waiver wire. Do you want to go wide receivers now, or do you want to hit somebody? Let's do wide receivers.
Let's hit the wide receivers. So Ricky Pearsall is the guy I want to talk about because we didn't get a perfect situation for Ricky Pearsall. A perfect situation would have been Juwan Jennings goes back into his role and Ricky plays the whole game. It was the opposite. Kyle Shanahan came out and said, Juwan did a good job playing the X. He's going to play the X the rest of the season. He straight up said that, right? That doesn't mean Ricky Pearsall is not the best wide receiver to move onto your team for a number of reasons. First of all, he still has standalone value to some degree, just like Juwan Jennings did, right? If you're talking about guys on your bench, what do you want? You want a combination of usefulness and upside. And he has both because not only can we use him now, but if someone gets hurt, now we have a player that we believe is good in an offense that we know is good in a role that we know is incredible because they use the fullback, right? It's that handcuff plus, the double handcuff plus, right? It's like if either wide receiver gets hurt, he's the man, right? So you got to like Ricky there. After that, for somebody that's startable, Noah Brown. I mean, I know he had a couple bad plays this weekend, but we've seen this guy come out and get 6+ targets in 3 straight weeks. He's gotten 6 targets in 4 out of the last 5 weeks. He's been the second wide receiver on the team behind Terry McLaurin. And the matchups aren't bad for this player moving forward. And last year, we watched this guy have back-to-back 150-yard games. I mean, we watched him catch a Hail Mary. This guy's capable of big plays, so I like him if you have to start somebody. If you're looking for deeper plays that like are just more upside type plays, Xavier Legette, and then Kayshon Boutte has been a guy that has played. He's in very deep leagues, obviously. We're talking about a guy that's rostered in 1% of leagues. So like in your very deep leagues, that's a guy that he's led the team in snaps every game that Drake May's been the starter. And this week he finally got some targets. But again, he's more of a
he's had 6 targets in each of the last 3 games over there. 3 red zone targets over 3 games as well. Kayshon Boutte in deeper leagues, not so much a throwaway with Drake May.
Right. And shout out to John Impemba, who he goes, I think Kayshon Boutte is the best hands on the team. And Jalen Polk will tell you that it's him, but Boutte's been playing over him. And this week they rotated everybody except Kayshon Boutte. He played 62 snaps. No one else played more than 29. So like, even though DeMario Douglas is an okay streamer in full PPR, even though like Jalen Polk, we like the theory of what maybe he could be, like he's the one guy that's playing. So that's the guy there. For streamers, Noah Brown's my top one. Noah, obviously, if you pick up Ricky, maybe you'll use him. But Noah Brown is just a guy that's out there that I think is, he's getting looks. Devon Vele, it's like, it depends if you're in a shallow or deep league. If you're in a shallow league, just go for like a Jerry Jeudy or Elijah Moore, who we don't know who's going to be the target getter in any given week on the Browns, but we know Jameis Winston's going to be firing on all cylinders. So you look at guys like that. You look at Devon Vele as a guy that could have some upside down the stretch. And then the other guys we like. Howard, I want to ask you, if you had to start somebody between these two, who would you go with? Would you go Quentin Johnston this week? And the Chargers have, because I was kind of going back and forth on this one. The Chargers have the Ravens, so it's a really good matchup for him. Or would you go with a guy that I know you've liked along the way on the other side of the ball in Rashad Bateman going against the Chargers?
Well, that is not this week, actually. This week, Chargers have the Cincinnati Bengals
Oh, I was looking at the wrong
on
one.
Sunday Night Football. So
And the Ravens have Pitt.
and yeah, the Ravens are against Pittsburgh. So it's so you want to know Quentin Johnston or who?
Or Rashad Bateman.
Or Rashad Bateman. I would probably go with Quentin Johnston in this matchup here against who's the best cornerback for Cincinnati? Is it Cam Taylor-Britt?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the one that runs his mouth the most. That's for sure.
So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I like Quentin Johnston. I mean, it looks like he's made the adjustments. He's gone from year to year now, where last year it was like, impossible to get separation, and he was good but not great in contested catches. Now all of a sudden, he still isn't getting great separation, but he's definitely better in contested catches there. So I'd probably lean on him for that matter. A couple of names that you actually left off, which, I mean, I'm glad that you left them off because I did a video. If you guys are big TikTokers out there, at the Real RotoBuzz guy on TikTok, 3 wide receiver waiver wire traps that I said that you don't want. Let's see. We want to get rid of John Mechie.
Yeah.
We want to get rid of Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And who is the other one that I did? Oh, and Tylan Wallace. So
Yes,
3 guys there who Wallace got into the end zone on Thursday Night Football. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 109 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. In a sea of no receivers there in New Orleans. And then John Mechie. Now, Mechie's an easy one because Nico Collins is going to be back, and you're going to have Mechie and Mechie and Robert Woods and Xavier Hutchinson. They're all going to be kind of like sharing snaps and stuff like that. So I'm not really that into Mechie. Wallace is a special teamer who just kind of got lucky, turned a 5-yard catch into a touchdown run there. So, I don't see him getting the work there. I think the interesting one here for everybody is Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because anybody who's like just a box score surfer is going to immediately jump on him. But the question is, if Chris Olave is still out and there is no Rashid Shaheed, I mean, where are we looking at for Saints wide receivers? And does Marquez Valdez-Scantling actually make sense?
No. I mean, if you saw what they did, I mean, they're just throwing it to Alvin Kamara a ton. They also used a crazy number of tight ends, like Juwan Jennings, Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill. Those guys led in snaps over all the wide receivers, and it's like Mason Tipton's playing a ton, but he's not doing anything. Cedric Wilson's playing some. I can't go there. But think about the way Marquez Valdez-Scantling plays. It's such high ADOT, average depth of target, like deep balls, that those players have to be so good to be consistent. And it's so rare that we get them. Like, you have to be Tyreek Hill. You have to be T.Y. Hilton, Deshaun Jackson. But even Deshaun Jackson, when he got older and became less consistent, you couldn't trust those guys, right? It's like, it's so difficult. Brandon Cooks for stretches can do it. But and Rashid Shaheed was starting to do it, but with those plays, the percentages are so low of catching it and getting the big chunk versus not catching it, that the floor ends up being so bad. Like Christian Watson is another guy where it's like he either catches the big one or he doesn't. And like MVS, we've seen him play with Patrick Mahomes, we've seen him play with Aaron Rodgers, we've seen him play with Josh Allen, and he couldn't do it with those guys, but now he's going to do it with Derek Carr. I don't think so.
Yeah. The floor is lava.
Last name before we go back to the chat for deeper stash is Mike Williams. He caught one touchdown.
I'm in on that, baby. I already own him in like a dozen leagues already. I grabbed him immediately. I grabbed him when I thought he was going to be traded to the Chiefs.
Right. Well, he played 9 snaps, so you can't necessarily trust him. But he caught a touchdown pass on those 9 snaps, which means if he were to play a whole game, he would probably catch 5 or 6 touchdowns, right? That's how that math works, right, Howard?
Up yours, Aaron Rodgers. Up yours. That's all I have to say.
Should have started him over Devontae Adams.
Unbelievable. All right. Back to the chat here, and we go to our boy Jerry. What's up, Jerry? Good to have you here. Drop Darnold, pick up Bo Nix.
I mean, I always lean into the mobile guys. If those guys are available, if it's a league like that where there's guys available, just go for the mobile guys, because you can always find you can always find guys like Darnold and Herbert and whoever on the wire. Like if no one has picked up Bo Nix by now, then I go for those guys. Nix, May, give me the mobile upside.
Knicks has Falcons, Raiders, Browns, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Chiefs. That's how he wraps it up there. So
All good things.
all very good things for sure. Coop, rank these waiver pickups for Rod Elliott. Deontay Johnson, Gus Edwards, Audric Estime, who, let's talk about that. Audric Estime, what, 82.3% carry share this past week, 14 carries in total. Javonte was nowhere to be found. He doesn't catch passes, though.
Either way, he has to be the top ad. He has to be the top ad if you're going for running back this week, maybe at any position. And the reason being is that there's just so few unsettled backfields right now. There's virtually all of them are settled. Every other situation is playing the injury guessing game, except for this one, and maybe wondering how high Khalil Herbert can push things. But Khalil Herbert's not going to push it to the point where he takes over the entire backfield unless he's just somehow incredible. And I mean, he is good at breaking tackles, so maybe he does carve out that type of role, but it's probably Chase Brown, So in this case, you just have to hope that these egotistical hot hand coaches, the Shanahans of the world, the McVays of the world, the Sean Paytons of the world, are willing to say, this is the guy we drafted. This is my guy. We're going to go hot hand, and we just got to hope that he can hold that, because you have to give yourself a shot at this. It worked for us with Tyrone Tracy, but we've tried a few times on this with Tank Bigsby and Bucky Irving, and it's been fine. But like you just have to give yourself a chance. So Estime's the guy. If you need a spot start, I go Gus Edwards. Deontay Johnson, I guess Josina Anderson didn't lie to us, and he's just going to be a part-time player that might return punts. So I can't trust that guy. I just can't trust him, dude.
I'm with you. Jennifer Sun says everyone was wrong about Gesicki. Well, everyone except for me and Coop.
Not everyone.
Got to amend that statement there,
timeline. Check the timeline on that one. We've got I think we did it in every possible way, in text form, on YouTube, on Sirius XM, on Sunday morning. We made sure that people were aware of that one.
Right, I even replayed it. Like I said, Otten. I replayed it in the intro to yesterday's Sirius XM show. My call on Kate Otten as being the bust of the bust for the weekend, as well as take the under on his receiving yards prop. 5 for 35, didn't touch the football in the second half. The Funkadelic wants to know: do I trade away Hopkins to receive DK? Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, it's I before E, except after C.
Yeah, Funkadelic, get it together. Oh, look, we got fantasy points in the house.
I saw that, right? Well, you've got fantasy points in the house. They don't talk to me, apparently.
Of course they do. What up? What up, gang?
They hate me because I'm a boomer who doesn't like data.
And you earlier shouting out Ryan Heath and Tipple.
I know, right?
That comment came in.
Come on, man. What's a guy got to do to get some forgiveness around here?
Unbelievable, dude. You even gave him a shout out.
All right, Dan B2387. Hey guys, my team's extremely beat up. I need reinforcements. That said, I'm only at number 9 waiver position. 12 out of 12. Should I hold off on claims this week? No. You never hold off on claims. If you're at position 9, put it in for the top guys. Like, go after whoever you want to go after. If you don't get them, then it's no big deal. But if people are, moving out, like, I don't know who you're at number 9 in your waiver position, but what happens if like the team who's 2 and 7 or a team that's 1 and 8 has like the second or third top waiver priority? You think they're really going for waiver claims here? Like that, this is the point now where the bottom half of your standings is quitting on the league and they're not doing waivers. So
I work it the other way with the priorities. I really only ever hold if I'm 1 or 2 to try and make sure I hold in case the big one's there.
Right.
If there are guys out there that I would put into my lineup, I'm always putting the claims in. I'm always putting them in because, like, you're trying to make your starting lineup better. If you're picking up those guys, then do it. If we're talking about deep stashes, maybe you skip it, but like always put in the claims for anyone that would go in your lineup. Always.
Here we go. Greg Martinez in the house. He and I have been communicating private DMs lately, just talking about good old Benjamin St. Just and Mike Williams and all that fun stuff there. Where are we going next? Here we go. Southsco 650. Top of the morning, fellas. I'm not Irish. Half point PPR. Who should I grab off waivers for Josh Allen's bye week in week 12? Winston versus the Steelers, May versus Miami, Levis versus Houston, Rusher Lance versus Washington. That's got Drake May written all over it.
Yeah, that's May. I like Lance as a stash, but not to start right now.
Yeah, no.
So real quick, I'll just run through QBs and then we can.
Yeah, let's do QBs. Good timing.
Yeah. So my top ads are still Knicks and May. Mobile upside, I'm telling you guys, I've gone through the math on here multiple times. If you're willing to run 5, 6, 7 times a game, that creates a crazy floor. Look at Daniel Jones this week. He was absolutely terrible. And he threw 2 interceptions, and he's probably going to get benched. And then he ran a little bit and scored a touchdown, and he scored double-digit fantasy points. I mean, it's not just the floor, but it's also the ceiling. So I'm going for Knicks. I'm going for May as my ads. Streamers, Knicks and May as well. I'll also consider Russell Wilson this week. Russ has just been playing really well, and he's been dropped in a lot of leagues. And his matchup is against Baltimore, which is the best team. I mean, they were the worst team versus the best. So it's the best possible matchup. For stashes, Will Levis does have a crazy schedule down the stretch. The two teams that have the best schedules are the Giants and the Titans. So for Will Levis, I'm stashing him because of the schedule where down the stretch he plays the Jaguars twice. He plays the Colts. I mean, his schedule is great. A very interesting one would be this. If the Giants come out and announce that they're benching Daniel Jones for Drew Lock, and Drew Lock has the full bye week, so basically essentially a full 10 days, 2 weeks or whatever to get acclimated and be the starter for this team, their schedule coming out of the bye, rest of the season, goes Tampa Bay, Dallas, New Orleans, Baltimore, Atlanta, Colts. Atlanta's 26 in DVOA. I mean, like every one of those teams is bad against pass. I mean, that schedule is literally perfect. Yeah. So I'm ready for Drew Lock. I don't know if you are. If it is Daniel, that's the thing is, it's if it's Daniel Jones, then great. So he'd be a guy there. The last one is in those deep leagues, the Superflex leagues. You do got to stash Trey Lance because he's. I saw a stat that said, and I apologize to who put it out into the atmosphere. It might have been Rich Rebar. 13% of the time, he takes off and runs, which is a crazy high number for his sample size. So it's like, again, super flex, those type things. And as always, keep those mobile QBs, the backup mobile QBs in your thoughts for those like crazy super flex leagues where everyone's held. What if Malik Willis plays? What if Justin Fields plays? What if Anthony Richardson plays? That's it.
All right, back to the chat here. We got about 10 minutes to go in the show here. It flies by all the time here. So we'll try to rapid fire it. Not our strong suit to rapid fire, but we're gonna do our best.
But what about today? What if today's the day?
What if today's the day? All right, Kyle Derrick wants to know better PPR stash or bye week plug-in. Adonai Mitchell, Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashad Bateman, Sterling Shepard, Elijah Moore, MVS, or Mechie. Well, we can take MVS and Mechie off of the board here.
Yeah, the best stash is Adonai Mitchell, just because he's a second round rookie that, if Pittman misses time, then he's the guy. The best bye week fill-in is probably Bateman.
All right. Mahai Luke in the house. Need a sub for Kyler, Derek Carr, Will Levis, or Mac Jones. Well, that is a group.
Yeah. Derek Carr has
he's got Cleveland.
He's got Cleveland, yeah.
That's not a great matchup for him, but Tennessee against Minnesota, that's not a great matchup for Will Levis either. And then Mac Jones, we're not 100% sure that Mac Jones is even getting this start for the Jaguars this week.
I think it's actually Levis. I mean, Minnesota's been a good defense, but they've been a bit of a pass funnel. You can throw a little more on them than you can run on them.
There you go.
The problem with Derek Carr has always been the same problem. Is they get down to the goal line, they take him out. And that's where all the points are scored.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Rod Elliott says, if Kincaid can't go, grab Knox.
If you have, that's the only time I'm using Knox is if I have Kincaid. And I can move Kincaid into an IR spot, start Knox until he comes back. Then I'll do that. I'm not gonna add Knox if my tight end isn't Kincaid though.
All right. Pacheco off of IR, thoughts? He may resume practicing soon. This is the last thing that I heard. Here you go. Charles Goldman from A to Z Sports says that they're close to coming back here to return to practice at least.
If a guy comes off a broken arm, I'll start him week 1. If a guy comes off a broken leg, I got to see one game first.
There you go.
That's it.
Would you swap out? What's up? The Dino Fontaine. Would you swap out Deontay Johnson for Adonai Mitchell, Noah Brown, or Josh Palmer?
Yeah, I like Noah Brown. If this is a person, if this is a player that's going to be very close to your starting lineup, like somebody that you'll actually need to use over the next couple of weeks with buys, it's Noah Brown. If it's just like if you have like 7 wide receivers and this is your 8th wide receiver and you're just one upside, it's Adonai Mitchell. I have no interest in Josh Palmer.
My High Luke says he needs a running back too. He's got Ford on the bench. Does he pick up Tyler Goodson, Jeremy McNichols, Samaje Perine, or Gus Bus?
Gus Bus he got 10 carries on only 14 snaps. He's good for carries. There's just Jerome Ford. Picture him the same way you picture Justice Hill now. That's the usage he got. He didn't get really any carries, but he played a bunch of pass snaps. And he actually played more than Nick Chubb because it was a pass script. Justice Hill, Jerome Ford, Amir Abdullah, those are just pass down guys. Gus is actually getting carries. That's the guy you want.
The Dino Fontaine also wants to know Gesicki, Knox, or Taysom Hill for the waiver play this week.
I mean, Knox. Gesicki is playing like half the snaps. Like he's rotating with Tanner Hudson. He can't catch the football. He did more crying than he did catching this past week.
Yeah. Oh my God. Every time, everything was like a complaint about no flag. We also need to see what happens with T. Higgins. If T. Higgins is back, then Gesicki's definitely toast.
If Jamal Williams is out again, though, probably just go Taysom.
There you go. DM 7819, 10-team PPR. He's in second. CMC and St. Brown owners are bottom 2. Should I go after one of them? I've got Barkley, Achane, Montgomery, AJ Brown, JSN, Downs as starter flex options. I mean, I always like acquiring a guy like CMC, but I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to like end up blowing up something.
Yeah,
I think that happen.
Stick with what you got, unless you can
do like Montgomery and Downs or Montgomery and JSN. Right. Exactly. But I'm not trading Barkley, AJ Brown, or Devon Achane at this point in time.
All your players are so good that it makes the trade lateral.
Yeah. My Luke says he needs a tight end sub for McBride. Hudson, Allen Davis, Disley, or Knox.
It's Disley. Disley's getting the looks. Can't argue with it.
Pick 2 here to roster to choose between going forward. Darnold, Herbert, Carr, or Winston. If I'm going 2 of these guys, I'm going Darnold and Herbert.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm probably starting Herbert this week against Cincinnati.
Absolutely. And then again next week against Baltimore.
Ba-boom. Greg wants to know, rest of season, Muth or Kraft or both? And do I try to pick up the Gus Bus or Mechie?
I would go Gus Bus on the pickup. I mean, Muth and Kraft are tough because they're just not really getting peppered with targets. Kraft does have the 2 60-yard plays that are really that accounts for almost 40% of his yards on the season. So he's really not doing as much as you would think either. I'd probably just go with Kraft.
Sean 10 wants to know, is Estime worth using his number 1 waiver claim?
Yeah. There's so few opportunities left to potentially even find a guy that's going to get more than 50% of the snaps on his team. You have to take that shot.
Agreed. For this week, he's got the Jets D. Do I drop him for either Cleveland, Cincy, or Tennessee? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, not against the Colts. I think. What are we looking at? Like a Joe Flacco revenge game narrative here? I think with the way Flacco's been throwing picks, I think even the Jets can actually look good against him.
Flacco, man, that was something, huh? Flacco was throwing junk.
So bad. Should I get T. Higgins? What's up, Ken? Should I get T. Higgins and Deontay Johnson for Neighbors and Quentin Johnston?
No. Just keep Neighbors.
Yep.
That trade is basically Neighbors for T. Higgins.
Yeah. Steve Cervera, half-point PPR trade, offered Amon-Ra, Pacheco for Taylor. My other RBs are Barkley, Hunt, and Kamar. I have Metcalf, McConkey. No, I'd rather keep Amon-Ra.
Yeah, just stay with what you got.
Yeah. And I mean, you're fine with Barkley, Hunt, and Kamara. That's for sure. That's for sure. Javante Ass Williams, new nickname. You know
Twitch
what,
gang.
man? I'm gonna give it up for the Twitch gang on that one. There's no doubt about it. Javante Ass Williams.
Did he get no carries? Did he get no carries?
Yeah, like 2 carries. Sucked.
Good God, mate.
Whatever. I've been saying this for well over a month. Hope everyone scooped up Estime shares. Oh, don't be a braggart, Luke.
Nah, Luke rocks. Good call, Luke.
Oh, meanwhile, though, Nap
up.
God says Estime equals Trey Sermon, and that is not a good comparison.
The nap God. Well, maybe.
Unreal.
I'd love to see Estime catch a pass once.
Oh, we did that one already.
There we go. Now the Estime versus Trey Sermon battle has begun.
We'll see about that one there. I am not a Trey Sermon fan at all.
I know you're not.
Being offered AJ Brown for CeeDee Lamb or Brian Robinson and Marvin Harrison Jr. for CeeDee Lamb.
I would take AJ Brown for CeeDee Lamb.
I would definitely take AJ Brown for CeeDee Lamb.
Why are they doing that? They liked what they saw out of Cooper Rush.
I don't know.
AJ Brown's
awesome. They're probably thinking, well, Dallas can't possibly be that bad, and CeeDee Lamb is an elite receiver. He is.
I mean, AJ Brown was going like 6th overall. He had 100 yards again this week. Yeah, just take AJ Brown. AJ Brown rocks.
Drop Jaden Reed or Romeo Dobbs and pick up Mike Williams or MVS? No. Just commenting on the dilemma. Wilson or Love for the end of the season?
It's Love. It's still Love. I mean, even regardless of schedule, like I know Love has his bye week coming up still. No. Yes.
No. Green Bay's
already they're done. Yeah. It's just you just go with the more talented player.
Trade Neighbors for Cup.
Incredibly lateral move. My question would be why. I think I like both players. Both players are great. My question is why.
Yeah.
It's like you're asking me trade, it's like asking me, do I trade like Joe Mixon for Alvin Kamara? It's like,
wow, I don't know about that. Saints are terrible. Joe Mixon looks freaking amazing.
Kamara had 100 yards again.
Yeah, whatever. Thoughts on it? Marshawn Lloyd.
He dropped a wide open. He could have had 150 yards. He dropped that wide open touchdown. Back into what? Slot back into what? Into what Emmanuel Wilson was doing? What he was doing?
Ventral? Into hot trash? Into Garbaggio?
I think Marshawn Lloyd will probably be the RB2 there, but the RB2 role has not been that good. Josh Jacobs is he's the guy.
He is the guy. All right. Well, look at that, man. We actually cleared the deck here, and we got a minute to spare. So allow me to tell everybody out there that if you guys don't subscribe yet to Fantasy Alarm, this QR code up here in the corner, zap that QR code, right? And then use the promo code Let's Go. Sign up for the monthly. Use the promo code Let's Go. You'll get a 7-day free trial, and then your first month, less than $20, right? 50% off your first month. So less than $20 gets you 7 days and a month. All of our content over at fantasyalarm.com. You get all the Coop stuff here for football. We're already crushing it with the NBA DFS. John and Pemba and James Grande are killing it there. Mike Iannone always crushes it with the MMA stuff. The hockey guys are killing it. Like everybody out there is doing phenomenal work. So if you don't want to zap that QR code, because that's how they get you, you can go to fantasyalarm.com/win, and that'll bring you right there. Promo code Let's Go, one word, LETSGO. Final thoughts here, Coop?
Go Patriots. Patriots are back. That's it.
Hottest team in football. Well,
unfortunately,
I'm dealing with the Steelers
rooting their draft pick and not getting a good left tackle. Go Pats. Like, let's just, why are we going to beat the Bears? Just let the Bears win. Come on.
Oh, look at that. We can close it out here with Greg Martinez. Well, that was fast. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, you and me both, man. But you know what? It's like I say to my wife sometimes, these are just for me. That's going to do it for us here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in here to the Alarm Fantasy Football. As always, check out all of Coop's work at Coop A Fiasco on the old Twitter machine. Check out everything that he brings to the table. I'm at Roto Buzz Guy. And if you're a TikToker, at The Real Roto Buzz Guy. It's going to do it for us. We will be back here tomorrow cleaning up the rest of waivers and helping you with your trades and your start sits. Week 11, it's here, baby.